Hello there, this is Representative Marcus Brandon. I want to welcome you guys to this week of Marcus's Minute. And this week we're going to talk about school choice. We have a bill coming out of the House that I am a sponsor of that gives opportunity scholarships for students that are in poor and working class families. And I understand for some folks that this is somewhat controversial in terms of dealing with this type of legislation, but for me, it's a no-brainer, because what we have is that it's two things. One, it's a constitutional issue for me, and we have a situation where there are certain segments of the population, because of their economic background, have always had the opportunity to create choices for their family that make sure that they had a high-quality education, whether they would be able to go to a private school or because of the schools in that community usually do pretty well, whether they're public, private, or charter. But what you have is a complete segment of the population that never has an opportunity of choice. And oftentimes what we find is that in poor communities, rural communities, and things like that, where the schools are underperforming and there are really no choices, and if there are choices, those families cannot particularly afford to go to a private school, and especially if they're locked out of a lottery process through the charter process. So what we have is a bill that's going to create access for them, opportunity and access. And I always want to remind people that it is the most progressive ideal in the world. It is the most democratic ideal in the world that makes sure that we as legislators and we as a party make sure that we do everything that we can to make sure that we create an equal opportunity and an equal access for every single person in this state and in this country. And I believe that this bill does that. I've always been a fervent supporter of public schools, and I think it's time for us to stop having a conversation between public and private and charter and have a conversation between good schools and bad schools. And we really need to make sure that all of the schools that are educating our babies are good schools. But we also need to make sure that, therefore, you live in this zip code, that you must go to that school. We have to have alternatives to that, because there are literally families that have no other alternatives. And I, for one, am not going to look that family in the face and tell them that they must and have to attend that school simply because that's where they live. That is not a democratic process. That is not an equal process. And so I ask for your support on the bill. And if there's any information that you want to find out about the bill additionally, please contact my office at any time, and I'll be glad to explain the bill to you or explain how you can get access to this particular scholarship that we're about to pass in the House. But I feel very strongly about this. I know that there are supporters of mine who feel differently, and all I can say to you is that I am not willing to wait for justice. Martin Luther King would have never said, let's wait 10 more years and let's see if that will make it work. We have, when you have numbers like I have seen, where I have 400 people in my district that drop out of school every single year. Well, if you times that by 10, that's 4,000 kids. And if you times that by 40, since we've been dealing with this achievement gap, 40 years, then you look at, you have 16,000 people in one community that has dropped out of school, and that's where you see communities that have been decimated. And people are literally dying because of it. They don't have a high school diploma, and they usually have a felon, which means they have 0% chance of making it in our society. And I don't have another 10 years to wait. I don't have another 5 years to wait. I don't even have another 1 year to wait. So what we're going to do is end the madness and stop all the rhetoric and really start trying to provide opportunity and access for these students. And I urge you to support the bill. And if you have any questions, like I said, please contact my office. Thank you for this week's Marcus's Minute.